My name is Rebecca, and in today's lesson we're going to be talking about the article the word the, and when to use it and when not to use it when we're talking about places specifically. A lot of students find this very confusing, and I understand that very well because there's no real logic to it. There are only categories. Categories where we do use the word the, and categories where we do not use the word the. So the first category we're going to look at is the category where we do not use the word the before certain items. Okay, let's have a look. So we do not use the word the when we talk about continents. So we would say, I would like to visit Asia, right? Not the Asia. I would like to visit Asia. When we talk about countries, she lives in Russia. She lives in Russia, right? When we talk about states, he is the governor of California, right? He's the governor of California. I wonder if you know who that is, right? Think about it. He works in Ontario. He works in Ontario, which is a province, right? States, in the United States, they call them states. In Canada and in some other countries, they call them provinces, right? When you mention the name of a city, do not put the word the. So, he visited London last summer. Not the London, he visited London last summer. When you talk about streets, right? He moved to Main Street. He moved to Main Street, not the Main Street. Main Street in this case is the name of the street, okay? So for example, here in Toronto we have another street. It's called Yonge Street. So our school is located on Yonge Street, all right? When you talk about mountains, they climbed Mount Everest. Not the Mount Everest, but just Mount Everest, okay? Also, when we talk about lakes, we don't say the. So you could say Lake Ontario is located in Canada. Or Lake Ontario is one of the Great Lakes. Parks, also, you do not use the word the. I love visiting Central Park. Or I love taking a walk through Central Park. All right? Central Park is in New York. It's a particular park. It's the name of a park. So, as you can see here, these are all the names of continents, countries, states, places, etc. All right? Where we do not use the word the. I know it's not easy to remember, and it's how can you remember? Through practice, through a lot of practice, and through looking at some of these rules. Okay? We're going to come back in a minute, and I'm going to show you a list of items where we do not use, here we did not use the. Now I'm going to show you a list of items where we do use the. Okay? I'll be right back. Okay, so now let's go on to the second category of places where we do use the word the. Okay? So let's go through this list. We do use the word the when we're talking about deserts. For example, the Sahara Desert, the Gobi Desert, right? You don't have to capitalize the word, the letter T, right? Unless, of course, it's at the beginning of a sentence. Then, of course, you're going to capitalize the first letter in any case. But otherwise, if this was in the middle of a sentence, it would read exactly like this. For example, I visited the Sahara Desert, okay? Also, when we're talking about plural countries. Now, you remember before, when we talked about countries by themselves, we said that you do not need the. But when you're talking about plural countries, for example, the United States, then we do use the word the, okay? Another example is the Philippines, right? Another example, oceans, right? Oceans, we do need to say the. So we say the Atlantic Ocean, the Pacific Ocean, and so on. All right? We also use the when we're talking about seas. The Mediterranean Sea, the Baltic Sea, right? We use the when we're talking about rivers. You don't have to use the word river at the end. You could, for example, just say, the Ganges is in India, right? The Ganges is in India. Or the Ganges River is in India, all right? Now, if we're talking about plural mountain ranges, so not just one mountain. In the other example, we gave Mount Everest, right? We said there was no the. But if we're talking about the mountain range, then we do need to say the, okay? I know it can drive you crazy, but you will get it. So we would say the Himalayas, right? Or the Alps, right? Or the Himalayan mountains. You could say that. But you would need to say the word the. Whenever we're talking about large areas, we also use the word the. So he comes from the Middle East. He lives in the West, right? That kind of thing, we would also use the. When we talk about a kingdom, for example, he lives in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Now, they don't usually use the whole term, but that is the official term. So if you're using the official term, then you would say the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. I didn't have space to write the whole thing here for you. And if we're talking about famous buildings, you would also use the word the. For example, the Eiffel Tower is in France. The Taj Mahal is in India. Okay? So these do require the word the. The ones that we talked about before do not require the word the. How do we learn this long list, these categories? Well, like many other things in English, it requires a lot of practice. So if you would like to do some more practice on this subject or many other areas of English, please visit our website, www.engvid.com, and there you can do a quiz on this and get practice in lots of other areas of English. All right? Thanks for watching. Bye for now. Good luck with your English.